The island that is currently shared by the Dominican Republic and Haiti became Hispaniola when Christopher Columbus landed there in 1492 and named it La Isla Española. Before Columbus's arrival, the island was inhabited by its native Taino people who called it Quisqueya or Haiti. Slavery started in Hispaniola shortly after Columbus's arrival in 1493 with the enslavement of the native Taino people by Spanish settlers. However, the large-scale importation of enslaved Africans began soon after, with the first documented arrivals in 1502 to replace the dying, overworked native population. The process became institutionalized with royal authorization for importing enslaved Africans in the early 1500s. Enslavement on the island of Hispaniola lasted for centuries, with the Spanish importation of enslaved Africans in the early 1500s and continuing until the Haitian Revolution abolished slavery in the French part of the island in 1804, and slavery was later abolished in the Spanish part in 1822. This means the period of institutionalized slavery on the island spanned from roughly the early 16th century to the early 19th century, a duration of about 300 years. The immense wealth of the colony was built on the back of a massive and brutally treated enslaved population who suffered under some of the harshest living conditions. Society was divided into rigid classes, with a small white elite, a middle group of free people of color, and the vast majority of enslaved people. Free people of color had limited rights, and all were subject to the authority of the white colonists and the distant French government. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity from the French and American revolutions inspired many in Saint-Domingue to demand change and challenge the existing system. The beginning of the Haitian Revolution. On August 14, 1791, Dutty Boukman, a voodoo priest, and Cécile Fatiman, a voodoo priestess, led the very famous Bois Caïman ceremony. That ceremony was a secret gathering that marked the symbolic start of the Haitian Revolution. As a maroon, a runaway slave, Dutty Boukman organized the gathering and led the enslaved people in the oath to rebel. As a voodoo priestess, Cécile Fatiman officiated the ritual. During the ceremony, she distributed the blood of a sacrificed pig to the assembly as they swore to fight for freedom. Boukman was a powerful orator and a key leader in the initial stages of the slave revolt. Boukman was captured and killed by French forces on November 7, 1791, just a few months after the uprising began. His head was publicly displayed to demoralize the revolutionaries, but his martyrdom was served as fuel to ignite their burning desire for freedom. On the night of 21st to 22nd of August, 1791, a coordinated slave revolt broke out in the north of the island, the area with the largest plantations. Black slaves massacred their masters and set fire to plantation buildings, while simultaneously, a separate rebellion started among the free coloreds in the west of Saint-Domingue. The brutal conditions of slavery in the French colony of Saint-Domingue left the slaves with only one option: to liberate themselves by any means necessary. Their misery served as fuel to keep on fighting. Toussaint Louverture was a free man by the time the Haitian Revolution began in 1791. He joined the slave uprising, organized his own army, and trained his soldiers in guerrilla warfare. Louverture was an avid reader. He familiarized himself with military strategies from different sources. His ability to adapt his tactics and employ psychological warfare earned him a reputation as a highly trained, self-taught commander. Louverture joined the Haitian Revolution as a military secretary to one of the rebel leaders by the name of Georges Biassou. This gave him hands-on experience and allowed him to identify the weaknesses of the other rebel commanders at the time. Louverture also built upon the existing strengths of African-born soldiers, whose military experience from their homeland contributed to the effectiveness of their guerrilla attacks. Even though Saint-Domingue was the most profitable French colony in the world, the slaves had extremely low life expectancy due to their horrific working conditions. For newly arrived enslaved Africans, life expectancy was only 2 to 3 years, while for those born in the colony, it was around 16 years. Toussaint Louverture joined forces with Spain. A war between France and Spain broke out in 1793. Spain viewed the slave rebellion in the French colony of Saint-Domingue as an ideal opportunity to expand its own power in the Caribbean. In 1793, Spain recruited Toussaint Louverture to help in its war against France. Spain sought to weaken France's control over its lucrative colony of Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti, by using the rebelling enslaved population against the French. Toussaint Louverture, in turn, saw it as an opportunity to join forces with the Spanish to secure support for the Haitian Revolution. The Spanish offered a way to fight against the French. Joining them gave Louverture a chance to gain military training and resources. Spain's alliance with the black insurgents provided military supplies to fight French colonial forces. The Spanish army in Saint-Domingue, the eastern, Spanish-controlled side of the island, integrating Toussaint Louverture in the Spanish army as a general within their ranks. Toussaint Louverture became the outright leader of the rebellion with the help of the Spanish-supplied forces. His military successes during this period demonstrated his spectacular skill as a commander and attracted other prominent fighters to his side. The British invasion of Saint-Domingue. The British invaded the French colony of Saint-Domingue, now Haiti, in 1793, hoping to capture it for themselves. In the initial stages of the invasion, the British secured several important coastal strongholds with the support of local white planters. They captured the port cities of Jérémie and Mont-Saint-Nicolas. They captured the capital city of Port-au-Prince on June 4, 1794, after an intensive naval and land assault. Louverture's change of allegiance. Toussaint Louverture's alliance with Spain was a pragmatic decision, as his ultimate motive was the emancipation of the enslaved. The French National Convention abolished slavery in its territories on February 4, 1794. In May of 1794, Louverture shifted his allegiance. With his primary goal aligned with France, Louverture and his army then joined forces with the French to expel the Spanish and the British from the island. Toussaint Louverture's forces launched sustained campaigns against the British. Louverture recaptured the key city of Mirabelet in June 1795. In the south, the mixed-race leader, André Rigaud, stood against the British advances, and his forces overran the British garrison at Tiburon in a surprise attack on Christmas Day 1794. Haitian rebels fought against the British armed forces in several conflicts, primarily between 1793 and 1798, as Britain attempted to seize the wealthy French colony. Haitian rebel leaders like Toussaint Louverture and Victor Hugues's forces successfully defeated the British army in Saint-Domingue, leading to an estimated 100,000 British casualties and forcing their withdrawal in 1798. They suffered a costly and humiliating defeat. The rebels utilized their knowledge of the terrain and a combination of military tactics and guerrilla warfare to their advantage. The Saint-Domingue's British defeat was a major blow, costing them massive resources in both lives and treasure. The cost to the British treasury was an estimated £4 million. It also weakened British colonial power significantly in the Caribbean and demonstrated the powerful military and strategic capabilities of the formerly enslaved Haitian forces. Etienne Laveau became Governor-General of Saint-Domingue in October of 1793. He was appointed as the interim governor on October 14, 1793, by the French commissioners, and held the post until May 11, 1796. During his tenure, he supported the abolition of slavery in the French colonies and made Toussaint Louverture his lieutenant governor in 1794. In March 1796, Jean-Louis Villatte, a mulatto general, captured and imprisoned Laveau, the acting governor of Saint-Domingue, during a power struggle. Rumors were spread by Villatte that the French authorities were planning to reinstate slavery, which fueled popular unrest in the capital of Cap Français, present-day Cap Haitian. When Toussaint Louverture heard of the coup against Etienne Laveau, he marched his forces to Cap Français and liberated Laveau. Toussaint demonstrated his loyalty to the French Republic and the abolition of slavery by entering the city peacefully and opening warehouses to show that no slave chains had been imported. To show his profound gratitude for Toussaint's loyalty, Etienne Laveau appointed Toussaint Louverture as lieutenant general and publicly stated that he would make no decisions without Toussaint's approval. This move cemented Toussaint Louverture as the most powerful figure in the colony. Etienne Laveau reportedly called Toussaint Louverture the Black Spartacus. Toussaint Louverture, appointed Governor-General of Saint-Domingue in 1796 by the French government. After conquering the Spanish-controlled eastern two-thirds of Hispaniola, now the Dominican Republic, he drafted a constitution on July 8, 1801 that made him Governor-General for life. A fierce, uncontrollable Napoleon Bonaparte interpreted the 1801 Toussaint Louverture's new constitution as an insult to French authority. Napoleon, who initially considered making Toussaint his lieutenant in the colony, decided to switch his position after Toussaint's new constitution. Napoleon Bonaparte came up with a master plan to destroy Toussaint Louverture and his army. The arrest of Toussaint Louverture. Napoleon chose not to invite Louverture to France for a peaceful meeting. Instead, on June 7, 1802, French Divisional General Jean-Baptiste Brunet invited Toussaint Louverture to a meeting under false pretenses, leading to his arrest. The invitation was part of a larger plan by General Charles Leclerc, Napoleon Bonaparte's brother-in-law, a French military commander and the leader of a 31,000 troops French expedition, who has previously promised Toussaint Louverture that he would not reinstate slavery on the island, in exchange for Louverture to lay down his arms. Unfortunately, Napoleon Bonaparte's secret instruction to Leclerc was to arrest Louverture at the earliest opportunity, seize control of Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti, and restore slavery. Toussaint Louverture's last words to his captors. Upon his arrest, Toussaint Louverture stated, "In overthrowing me, you have done no more than cut down the trunk of the tree of the Black Liberty in Saint-Domingue. It will spring back from the roots, for they are numerous and deep." This famous metaphor predicted that the Haitian Revolution would continue without him, which proved to be true. Toussaint Louverture and his family were deported to France on June 7, 1802. He was imprisoned in Fort de Joux in the French Alps, where he died as a prisoner on April 7, 1803, from pneumonia and malnutrition. The French's attempt to reconquer Saint-Domingue was initially successful in capturing Toussaint Louverture and most of the island. However, the expedition was ultimately defeated by severe Haitian resistance and a devastating yellow fever epidemic that decimated the French troops. The French expedition was a massive failure, with over 24,000 soldiers dead and many generals killed. The defeat also ended Napoleon's hopes of a French empire in the New World. Louverture's family, including his wife Suzanne, son Isaac, and others, were also deported to France and were separated from him. They never saw him again. They also were treated as prisoners by the French state. However, some contacts in France offered them support. The news of Toussaint's death arrived in Hispaniola. Following Toussaint's arrest and deportation, Jean-Jacques Dessalines had initially submitted to the French forces under General Leclerc. However, when Napoleon's intention to restore slavery became obvious, Jean-Jacques Dessalines abandoned his feigned loyalty to the French. He reunited the Haitian forces with other leaders like Alexandre Pétion to resume the revolution and to lead the revolutionaries to final victory. And this time to expel the French out of the island, take complete ownership of the land, to create their own country. Under the leadership of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the Haitian people were outraged by French atrocities and the betrayal of their leader. The news that France was re-establishing slavery in other colonies fueled the rebels' determination for full independence. Dessalines intensified the fight against the French. Haitian forces adopted a scorched earth strategy, using guerrilla tactics to destroy resources and make the colony uninhabitable for the French troops. The Revolutionary Army took control of the key southern port of Les Cayes in October 1803. Rebel forces recaptured Cap Français, now Cap Haïtien, in November 1803, leaving only a few French strongholds remaining. The 20-day siege at the Crête-à-Pierrot. Fort Crête-à-Pierrot is located in the southeast of the Petite Rivière de l'Artibonite. Its elevation gives it a complete view of the valley and the Artibonite River, east access to the Cahos Gorges and the border region of Mirabelais, a significant point of control. The first assault took place on 4th of March 1802. The French had approximately 15,000 soldiers besieging the fort of Crête-à-Pierrot during the battle. This large force, commanded by General Charles Leclerc, surrounded the smaller Haitian rebel army of 1,200, led by Jean-Jacques Dessalines. The Haitian rebels fought the French for 20 days, even after they ran out of food, water, and ammunition. General Lacroix of the French army wrote, "The soldiers were astonished by the behavior of a woman who urged her brothers in arms from the ramparts to continue the fight. That woman named Marie-Jeanne Lamartinière, wife of the commandant of Fort Louis d'Or Lamartinière. Dressed like a man, she carried a slung rifle and a landing sword attached to a steel belt. Despite under a storm of French projectiles, Marie-Jeanne went from one end of the ramparts to the other, sometimes distributing cartridges, sometimes helping to load the cannons." The evacuation of the fort. In the night of March 24, 1802, Jean-Jacques Dessalines and his troops famously escaped the French forces. Using only bayonets, they opened a corridor through the 13,000 French troops that surrounded the fort. Dessalines' forces broke through the French blockade and escaped into the Cahos Mountains. The Haitian rebels managed to escape with their fighting force. Though technically a French victory, the Haitian army's robust defense and successful evasion of their enemy boosted the confidence of the rebels and proved they could effectively fight against highly trained European soldiers. Approximately 1,500 to 2,000 French soldiers were either killed or wounded. The Haitian rebels defending the fort suffered an estimated 500 to 600 killed or wounded. Battle of Vertières, the last battle. Vertières is a location in northern Haiti near the city of Cap Haïtien, where the decisive Battle of Vertières took place on November 18, 1803. The heroes of the Battle of Vertières include Jean-Jacques Dessalines and François Capois, who led the Haitian Revolutionary Army to victory against the French. Other prominent leaders of the revolution who are honored as heroes include Alexandre Pétion and Henri Christophe. François Capois. Rising through the ranks from lieutenant to captain, his defining moment came while under fire in the Battle of Vertières. In the heat of the battle, as Capois led an assault on the French position, a cannonball hit his horse and knocked him down. Undeterred, he immediately rose to his feet, drew his sword, rallied his men, and shouted, "Forward! Forward!" Then another cannonball blew his hat off. He still continued his command to go forward. French General Rochambeau, observing from a distance, ordered a temporary ceasefire to honor Capois' bravery. The following morning, Rochambeau sent officers to Capois' camp with his own personal horse, a white one, as a replacement and an apology. The gift was a public acknowledgement of Capois' courage and a symbolic gesture of respect during the final moments of the war. Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the commander of the Haitian army during the battle, he was the one who ultimately accepted the French surrender. The collective bravery of the entire indigenous army is widely celebrated. The Battle of Vertières is a symbol of the struggle for liberty, as it was the first and only time in history of the world that an enslaved army led a successful revolution that established an independent nation. After the decisive victory over the French army at the Battle of Vertières, Dessalines ordered Louis Boisron-Tonnerre, his secretary, to start drafting a constitution for the new independent Republic of Haiti. Boisron-Tonnerre stated, "The Declaration of Independence should be written with the skin of a white man for parchment, his skull for a desk, his blood for ink, and a bayonet for a pen." Jean-Jacques Dessalines declared Haiti's independence on January 1, 1804, from France, establishing the first free black republic in the Western Hemisphere. He initially served as Governor-General before proclaiming himself Emperor Jacques I in October of that year. Between February and April 1804, Dessalines ordered the massacre of the remaining French colonists in Haiti, killing between 3,000 and 5,000 people, and an exodus of thousands. Some historians cite the threat of a French reinvasion and reinstatement of slavery as one of the reasons for the massacre. According to a proclamation from April 1804, Dessalines declared, "We have paid these true cannibals back crime for crime, war for war, outrage for outrage. I have saved my country. I have avenged America." In the same text, he famously dismissed the opinion of others, stating, "Of what consequence to me is the opinion which contemporary and future generations will pronounce upon my conduct? I have performed my duty. I enjoy my own approbation. For me, that is sufficient." The proclamation came after Dessalines ordered the killing of the remaining white French population in Haiti. He saw this as a necessary act of retribution and vengeance against the brutal system of slavery and the violence perpetrated by French colonial forces. By expelling the French and defeating Napoleon's forces, Dessalines saw himself as avenging not only the enslaved people of Haiti, but also the broader Americas, which had suffered under European colonialism. The brutality was also a calculated tactic to intimidate foreign powers, sending a clear message that the newly independent Haiti would not tolerate any attempts to reinstate slavery. Dessalines' actions and statements were a direct and defiant challenge to the entire system of slavery in the Atlantic world. In the Haitian Constitution of 1805, Dessalines declared Haiti to be an all-black nation and forbade white colonists from owning property or land there.